Choosing to look poor when heading towards retirement might actually be the single best decision you can make if you're trying to retire comfortably. After working within the financial services industry for over 30 years, I've found that the overwhelming majority of retirees who enjoy their retirement and aren't burdened by financial stress are in fact the ones who end up choosing to look poor. And there are 5 main reasons as to why that is. So in this video, I'm going to show you those 5 things. I'll reveal why looking poor actually might be the secret to a richer, happier retirement, and illustrate how this mindset can set you free financially and emotionally. And the very first principle that, if you understand it, can make the difference between having a great retirement and a very rocky, difficult one is the illusion of wealth. Many people who look rich, big houses, luxury cars, are often drowning in debt, while genuinely wealthy individuals live very simply. Purchases like new cars or home renovations provide short-term satisfaction but lead to ongoing dissatisfaction and perhaps financial stress. Rich is loud, wealth is quiet. True financial freedom doesn't require flaunting success, and there's a huge difference between wealth and richness. Wealth is lasting, smart and intentional, and richness is generally or sometimes just for show. Maintaining appearances leads to overspending and compromises long-term goals like retirement security. Rejecting the pressure to appear wealthy allows you to focus on meaningful financial and personal priorities. So, if you truly internalize this and keep it in mind, you can overcome the hedonic treadmill and break free from the rat race entirely. Let's look at some of the different methods you can use to actually go deeper with this and retire comfortably. The first being to break the cycle of overconsumption. Shopping triggers pleasure, but the happiness fades quickly, leading to more spending. Accumulating things often leads to debt, clutter and stress rather than lasting joy. As income grows, many people increase their spending instead of saving, which traps them in financial stress. Living below your means, however, frees up resources for saving, investing and truly fulfilling experiences. Setting a spending cap early in life and sticking to it prevents lifestyle inflation and promotes long-term wealth. And at the end of the day, overconsumption is one of those things that if you can beat it, you can truly be free financially and mentally. But not only that, beating it opens up the door to some things that can actually help you become wealthier and widen the gap between yourself and the danger zone. And that is building financial margin. The gap between what you earn and what you spend, and understanding this is crucial for reducing stress and building your wealth. Studies show actually that people with financial margin experience less anxiety and more life satisfaction. For example, emergency flexibility. A financial cushion lets you handle unexpected expenses without derailing your financial plans. The danger of debt. Well, even high earners feel financially trapped without that margin, leading to sleepless nights and anxiety. Small changes and big results. Simple shifts like cancelling unnecessary subscriptions or delaying major purchases can create significant financial breathing space. And overall, the more margin you have between your income and expenses, the more comfortable you'll be, no matter where you are financially. If you have a lot to draw from or very little, this still applies, and you need to be keeping a healthy margin between your income and what you spend. Sometimes it can be a little hard to know how much margin you actually have and what exactly that looks like for you. If you're looking into retirement and this all sounds great, but you're thinking it might be a good idea to speak with a professional about these things, there's a link in the description to book a call with us completely for free. Instead of paying £800, it's entirely free to book in a call and speak to one of our expert advisors. Now let's shift gear a little bit and look at how you can actually shift your mindset to redefine what success looks like in retirement. Because if you don't understand this concept, you might not be able to internalize everything else that I've just shown you, and you could end up making some deadly mistakes. True happiness in retirement comes from relationships, experiences and purpose, not material possessions. Now let's talk a little bit about intentional spending. Redirecting money from impressing others to investing in meaningful activities like travel or hobbies that build community. Joining communities, for example, things like gardening clubs, fitness groups, you might even want to try a spot of bowls, and this is something I've actually recently taken up, and I must admit I'm thoroughly truly enjoying it. Joining a community can provide lasting joy, unlike fleeting material gains. Sometimes these things cost a decent amount of money, but are still worth it because they provide you with that relationship, experience, and purpose, which I just mentioned. Spending aligned with personal values leads to fulfillment and long-term satisfaction. Appreciating what you have diminishes the urge for more, helping you avoid unnecessary spending. So, if you can reframe what success looks like and shift your mindset on what you've been taught about success throughout your life, you're going to set yourself up for a really great, fulfilling and joyous retirement. Right, now let's take a moment and look at a real-world example. Let's call these clients the Johnsons. Now, the Johnsons are a couple in their early 60s who've just retired, the past few years working very hard to save up for their golden years. But here's the thing, they've also been living a life that prioritizes appearances. They've always bought the latest gadgets, upgraded their car every few years, and took expensive holidays every single summer, and sometimes a bit of winter sun too. They wanted to look successful, to show the world that they were doing well, and to be fair, they absolutely did. But when they retired, they started to realize something. Despite having a decent nest egg, they were worried about how far their savings would actually go. Their expenses hadn't slowed down, and in fact, the more they tried to keep up with their friends and their peers, the more financially stressed they became. Now, think about your own situation. Have you ever felt that pressure to maintain a certain image or lifestyle for yourself, for your family, for others? Maybe you've upgraded your car or home even though you didn't really need to. Maybe you've spent money on things that didn't really bring long-term happiness, but they did make you feel good in that particular moment. If so, let me tell you, you're not alone. Here's where the Johnsons decided to make a shift. After realizing how much their lifestyle was draining their savings and would continue to do so, they made some intentional changes. They sold their high-end car and opted for a used car that still met their needs but cost a fraction of the price. They stopped taking expensive trips and less frequently, and they started exploring more affordable options like weekend road trips, local adventures. They also reevaluated their monthly spending, cutting out unnecessary subscriptions, and they stopped buying new gadgets all of the time. They were just adding to the clutter, let's face it. What was the result? Well, over time, they found themselves with more disposable income than they'd ever expected. They were able to save more, invest more, and really focus on what mattered to them the most, spending time with their family, volunteering, and traveling within their budget. Most importantly, they felt a lot less stressed. The pressure to look wealthy was gone, and they had more financial freedom than ever before. So let's pause and just think for a moment. Could this mindset of looking poor in retirement work for you? What small changes could you make today that would free up more money for what truly matters to you in retirement? Are there any purchases or upgrades you've been considering that really you don't think will add value to your life in the long run? Could you find contentment and joy in simpler pleasures, just like the Johnsons did, without sacrificing your peace of mind? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Now remember, the Johnsons didn't sacrifice their happiness, they just redefined their priorities. Instead of focusing on appearances, they focused on what truly brought them joy and financial security. And as a result, their retirement became not just financially stable, but emotionally fulfilling as well. Which kind of brings me to my last point here, which is to give you some practical, actionable steps to adopting this mindset yourself. So I've mentioned a few of these throughout the video up until this point, but if you want something to write down and refer back to, like a checklist, this is the point where I'd recommend grabbing a pen and paper or getting the notes open on your phone, which is the modern way of doing things, let's face it. Let's begin with reassessing your goals. Focus on what you truly value: time, freedom, relationships, and plan your spending accordingly. Audit your spending. Identify areas of waste or unnecessary indulgence and redirect funds towards your priorities. Challenge the social norms. Resist the urge to keep up with the Joneses and instead embrace modesty as a strength and a virtue, and discipline, not a limitation. Invest in experiences. Spend your money on activities that create memories and connections, not on the things that lose value over time. And finally, set boundaries early. Start living below your means today and build habits that support financial freedom for the future. And if you come away from this video, keep all of those actionable tips top of your mind as you go into retirement especially, and you actually put them into practice, your retirement has the real potential to be great, comfortable, a brilliant experience instead of an absolute nightmare. But it can be a little difficult to know when the right time to retire is in the first place. We come across that all of the time. There are tons of factors at play, and if you're not familiar with them all, knowing when to retire can be much more intimidating than it actually needs to be. The reality is that there are only 5 questions that if you answer yes to these, they might mean it's time to retire now. So click here on the screen now to see the next video where we break down those 5 questions so you can see if you're able to retire right at this minute. I'll see you over there.